What's up, Reds? Welcome back to another Sunday Summary. My name is Kyle, and this week there was so much news to get into, so I had to bring two fans on to talk about it all. There's the Dutch League being canceled, the Premier League may come back, so much stuff to get into, alright? So just sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Alright, here we go, another Sunday Summary, and I got my boys with me today. I got Isaac, buddy from college, lifelong Liverpool fan, and I got my boy Steven. How you guys doing with your social distancing? Are you guys practicing good social distancing?
Good,
Start
Isaac.
with Steven.
I'm starting with me. All right.
Yeah.
Dude. Social distancing as much as I can. It's an awesome day up in Boston right now, so I'm actually getting outside. I did about 3 hours of yard work today, and it was nice to get back into it, man. It's nice being out there and just kind of being around the family and starting to get a little stir crazy during the week. Had a little blow up in my head yesterday, but hey, it's the weekend now, so we're all good.
That's right. What about you, Isaac?
Doing pretty good. I'm still in Harrisonburg. Not a lot of people left here. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of FIFA, watching a lot of old Liverpool highlights. But yeah, I need to get outside. So hopefully I'll go on a run today. Put the FIFA down for a minute.
That's all you can do, man. Because really, Harrisonburg, you're social distance anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, going pretty good. Really, the only thing I've been doing, FIFA, 2K, and then getting outside. That's really all I can do to stay sane, you know what I mean? And let's just jump right into it. So the biggest news that came out this week, of course, was the Dutch League, Eredivisie, Divise, however you say it. They decided to cancel their league, right? So the official UEFA statement for this, right? They had their meeting sometime either this week or last week. And their official statement is the ideal scenario, should the pandemic situation permit it, is to have the currently suspended domestic competitions completed in their original format. Should this not be possible, it would be preferable that suspended domestic competitions would restart with a different format in a manner which would still facilitate clubs to qualify on sporting merit. So then it goes on to say if they cannot complete the season, it's requested by UEFA, that they submit clubs for European competition based on this sporting merit. So essentially, the Dutch League they pulled the trigger and they decided, let's just cancel it. Wherever you're at now, we're going to submit you for UEFA competition or European competition, right? So I think Ajax was in first on goal difference. So Ajax progressed to the group stages. And then I think I have it here, AZ, or where is it? AZ Alkmaar, I think that's how you say it. Them and Ajax are going to the Champions League. And then you have Feyenoord in third, and then PSV, and then Willem, Van Dijk's old club. They'll be in the qualifying stages. So really and then you brought up, Steven, that apparently some clubs are starting to sue.
Yeah, so they're one of the teams that I actually just pulled up the article since we were talking about it. I'm going to butcher the name of the team, but I think it's called Utrecht. They're going to be filing a lawsuit against the Dutch soccer authorities after it was denied the opportunity to participate in European championships next season. Yeah. So, that opens up a lot of questions, obviously, and it could potentially put the Dutch league into some problems. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out, and I think that's why leagues like the Premier League are waiting this out as long as possible. Because if possible, obviously you want to try and finish the season, but if it's not safe, you can't do it. But, look what's happening here. Like, the last thing the EPL wants is a lawsuit on their hands, so they're going to just try and wait it out as long as possible, I think.
Yeah, I looked at the same article.
Hold on, Isaac, hold on. So there was some, interference. Go ahead again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was looking at that same article, and the team that was suing, they're sixth place. So one position out of Europa League, and they are only 3 points behind, 3 points away from Europa League, and have way better goal differential. And then also, they're in the Dutch Cup final. So if you win the Dutch Cup final, you go into the Europa League. So they have two legitimate ways. They'll probably end up being in Europe if the season went out. So they have a very legitimate case, and a couple players on the team have been really outspoken about it. Like their striker, I think he used to play in La Liga, a Spanish striker, and he called it a sporting injustice. So I think that they were a little bit too premature with their decision, because you have a team like that couldn't have made a case that if the season was played out, they would be in the Europa League one way or another, and they just messed out on millions of dollars in potential revenue. And I understand the safety concern, but I don't see like why they need to make that decision so early.
I completely agree with you. And you both brought up great points with the Premier League is trying to wait it out a little bit. So really, I think the biggest thing is safety, right? So I don't even know what the Dutch situation is. Maybe it's super bad over there, or maybe they're just trying to get ahead of it because they know it's going to be bad. But it's a severe injustice, right? But the other side of that is we've never been in this situation before. So something has to be done. And either way, like the UEFA's given them an option to submit teams for UEFA competition. So I think the Dutch teams, their issue is going to have to be with the Dutch FA, right? Because it was ultimately their decision to decide on that, right? But
Yeah.
that's got to be tough for, especially like you brought up the team 6th place, ahead on goal differential, and in the final. I mean, come on, that's horrible, man.
Yeah, and there's a whole other side of this too, especially when you start comparing, the Dutch league and the Belgium league already canceled too. But the other thing to think about from a financial standpoint is the TV deals, right? So
Right.
they literally have the contracts saying that you have to play these games, all this stuff, right? So look at a league like the Premier League, the biggest TV deal for any professional football league in the entire world. The Dutch league, they're the 11th biggest, even behind the MLS. So it is a wide gap here on what we're talking about when you're trying to compare Bundesliga, La Liga to what's going on in the Dutch league, because it's going to be a much bigger financial impact for, these top divisions with the international TV deals compared to the Dutch league, where they really only have, just like in the country, in the Netherlands is really the only TV deal that they have.
Right. Isaac, do you have any input on that?
I mean, I think it's spot on.
Yeah.
It's just I really just feel bad for the teams that like, I mean, I think it's you just can't say that the work that was put into the season can just be thrown away. Like,
right.
I think obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but I think you can't just start a new season without finishing the season. And I think no matter how long it takes, this season should be finished,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think they should finish this season, and then if you need to, shorten next season. I think that's way more feasible and understandable, and probably easier for the teams to wrap their head around to shorten next season. You know what I mean? Because I think it's different with every league. Because I think the NBA, I think all the sports in the United States, they're just going to end up canceling it. I think that's what I think they're going to end up doing. But it's obviously different over there. You brought up the TV deals. There's so much money involved. Everyone has to be satisfied. And that's basically what we're going to get into, because these meetings are taking place, right? So you got the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. He's having his weekly meetings with the chief medical officer, Sir Chris Whitty, I think his name is. And ultimately, the biggest thing is everyone's safety, right? Mm-hmm. So the tentative date right now is a June 8th restart time, I believe. And the finish, if they started on June 8th, the finish date for the league would be July 27th. So if you look at that, July 27th finishing, we'd normally start up in early August, like mid-August, something like that. That's actually not that bad of a plan, because they still get like 2-3 weeks off, and they've had March. So it's a month off now. So really it would add up to about the same time. And of course, here you'd be behind closed doors. There would be very strict social distancing guidelines for the players, which I don't know how you would do that with the actual games being played, but I'm assuming they mean behind closed doors and training and everything. Mm-hmm. And I could see it happening. It's just weird to me that all these different leagues can do their own thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, what are your guys' take on that?
No, I mean, I completely agree. And we actually talked about this last time we synced up, Kyle, was, in every situation there's going to be a winner and a loser, and no matter what you do. And I think, when you look at it, you have to do everything you can to finish the season, because let's just, focus on the Premier League for right now. So there's so many teams that added guys just in January alone to make a final push, whether they're at the bottom of the table or the top of the table. That is a complete waste now if they don't get to finish the season. Then on the other side, you think about teams that are in the championship, especially teams like Leeds, who have not been back in the Premier League in such a long time, finally going to be coming back up, being in first place in the championship right now. And then you're going to say, you know what, the season's over. Like, we crown a champion, we don't crown a champion, whatever they decide, and then there's no relegation. Like, they get completely screwed out of that situation. and they have a couple of really good guys in that team, including Ben White, who won't be there anymore, and that's going to leave them high and dry. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it, and I do kind of applaud them for taking their time. The only thing, if we are able to finish on that June 8th go time, and the season finishes the end of July, it's actually not that bad for the players. I think they're really be the only people that would be a bad impact for, but the Euros were supposed to happen anyway. So everyone was going to be playing, or the Olympics. So really we're just substituting those tournaments, putting them into next summer, and then just finishing the season over the summer while we can. So I think that's probably going to be the way they have to do it.
Yeah, Isaac?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think it's very important that Premier League teams are very impartial. A lot of United fans are online. They want the league canceled, but also they're in 5th place, 3 points away from Chelsea for 4th, and they're in way better form when the season ended. So I would have them taking the last Champions League spot. So I think they are going to be hard done by if the season's canceled. And then, as you mentioned, Leeds. So I think if things are better in June, it's definitely a possibility. I guess I know there are reports of possibly having all the players live together somewhere isolated.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. It'll be really interesting to get some Skype sessions from there. But
yeah.
The Premier League is doing a good job, and I think UEFA is really trying to have a uniform response. But as you can see in the Dutch league, already made their decision. But I think it's very important that what the Premier League does is the same thing that La Liga does, the same thing Bundesliga does, same things League One does, same thing Serie A does. It's very important that there's a uniform, because it's just going to mess up the whole system if one country is doing another thing and another countries. So it'll be interesting to see. It's it seems like every day you wake up and there's a new story, and there's a new league that's pondering closing, and it's the Dutch story really surprised me. I did not see that coming. So
the Dutch story surprised me. And then Belgium has been closed. They canceled their season 3 weeks ago, right? They were the first to do it. So it's just really weird to me. And like you mentioned, Isaac, the big leagues, the Italian leagues, La Liga, France, England, all those big leagues, those are really, they're the ones that are going to try to push it and actually play. You know what I mean? Because they have the top teams that are really, all the money's involved. They're really pushing for those Europe spots. So yeah, I mean, in the championship, man, you just got to feel bad for those teams, the Leeds. And I guarantee you the teams that were going to get relegated aren't really stressing this at all, unless, of course, they end up having to play it out. But,
right.
So Norwich is probably going down and things like that. But I just want to see the league come back. And now if they come back June 8th, right, their tentative schedules, they're obviously going to start training sometime in May, mid-May. They may even be back training earlier than that. But they obviously need a camp, right? Like a camp before they start playing. So what do you guys think in terms of, what do you think is the best case scenario for the timeline, right? Because the timeline, of course, is tentative. So June 8th to July 27th is good. I'm all for that. What do you guys think as far as the best timeline to give the players enough rest, but also give them enough time between games to reduce injury risk?
So I think that's pretty feasible. What they want to do, the June 8th and ending it, at the end of July. I think that's pretty good. And actually, a story came out today on Bleacher Report saying that starting next week, Arsenal players are allowed to go back to their training ground and start training. They do have some strict rules in place. I just pulled up the article on my phone here. There's no group drills allowed, but the players can go and use the facilities as long as they abide by the social distancing rules. So that's a really good sign. And I know that Liverpool had, I think it was May 14th or something around there.
Right,
that day marked as a potential going back to training and doing something similar. So I'm all for that. The only thing I'm worried about from the players' perspective is how well they were able to take care of their bodies during this month layoff. Because the last thing you want to do is not give them enough time to train and start getting all these injuries when if we are able to finish all the games, only going to have 2 weeks off before the next season starts. So that's my biggest concern. And like you kind of mentioned, Kyle, spreading out the games the right way. You don't want to have them playing 3 games every single week. I think it's very feasible to do 2 games a week. There's only 9 games left. Yeah. So I think if you can do 2 games a week, I think that wouldn't be too much of a hassle on the players.
Yeah, great points. Isaac, what do you think?
Yeah, I've seen like Bayern Munich and Germany already started training. I think the clubs are handling the training, like getting back into training well. But my concern is just that I've seen a lot of stories of players from not particularly our club, but like play like Kyle Walker and Jack Grealish and them breaking like social distancing rules. So they just
Dude,
need
can we talk about what Kyle Walker did for a second?
Yeah.
This man basically created his own brothel. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
like that's just so irresponsible, especially because it's so much worse over there in Europe, right? Or
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
at least it was at the time. You know, what an
Yeah,
idiot.
we can't be having that. Like it's gonna look bad. And then it's gonna like bring up concerns of the league. Maybe it should be canceled because players aren't gonna be following these guidelines. So I think it's gonna really come down to clubs enforcing these punishments. It's like these are big name players in England doing things like this, and like we can't be having that. So that's my only concern. So as long as they can like put aside their own personal interests and just like make sure they're following like being good role models, following social distance circumstances. I mean, social distance guidelines. I think that this should be fine for the league to start. But I don't know. I'm not concerned about our players, but I don't trust some other players that don't have much to play for.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I hear you. I'm not. No one's concerned about our players for real. I mean,
Yeah.
Klopp runs a very tight ship over there. I mean, you saw. I mean, even they were having yoga sessions over Zoom. I'm pretty sure no other team was doing that. Let's be
Mm.
real. But
Naby Lad.
yeah, Navi Lad, what a
That's
legend. Yeah,
a legend.
yeah. Hopefully his English is getting better, man. Because I really want to see him in the team this season, or the resume of the season next season. I want to see him start to shine in the Premier League because he is one of my favorite players. Just because of I've seen how talented he can be. He has these little flashes. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
I mean, I remember the first game of the season when it was his first ever game for Liverpool. Everyone said like this was probably one of the best debuts that anyone's ever had for Liverpool. Like they said Keita and they said Xabi Alonso, like the two names that they brought up for like best debut ever. And then the thing with him that's unfortunate is that he has had some issues with injuries, but he and a guy like Ox, in my opinion, are two guys that really rely on getting a string of games in a row, 2, 3, 4 starts in a row to start getting their momentum and their confidence. And he really hasn't had that opportunity because when he's been healthy, he hasn't put two good performances back to back in a row. And I think Liverpool fans across the board, for the most part, understand how good this guy can be when he's clicking. So again, give him a little bit more time to see if he can get his legs underneath him. But yeah, he's got a really bright future for us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just that we have so much. We have a lot. We have Vini in the midfield. We have Fabinho. We have Henderson. Like we have Ox. It's just going to be really hard for him to. As you said, like when he was in Leipzig, I was so happy when we got him. I didn't think we were going to get him. I thought he was going to go to Man City or something. But
Right.
when he's in the team, I think he's one of our best midfielders. But we'll see. And I mean, the good thing about this break, maybe he'll come back healthy when things
Yeah.
start restart and like put on a great performance. But like I think he's a game changer. And like I like a lot of players coming out of Leipzig, so like he's a lot of quality. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but he's
Yeah.
pretty low in the pecking order right now, I would say.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because you're right. Leipzig puts out a lot of talent, right? And they have a great program over there. But Keita, man, you hit the nail on the head, and we talked about this before, Steven. They need him and Ox. They need that rhythm
Mhm.
established, and that's when they perform at their best. But at the same time, the quality is still there. So I think Keita may be a little different. I mean, the perfect example is when he came on against United at Old Trafford. The difference
Yes.
him and Lallana made, where it was unbelievable. Like we were finally breaking into the final third. We were breaking down their midfield, and we ended up getting the goal for the draw. So, man, I just want to see him get some time in, and that's a good transition too because Isaac, you were saying our midfield is pretty stacked, and it really is. I mean, Klopp likes to have a lot of different options at midfield, and you've seen us linked with Dennis Zakaria and then some other guy from Mönchengladbach. So and then, of course, we're always linked with midfielders, it seems like, and then Timo Werner, right? It's
Mhm.
Timo Werner is always thrown in there. So let's talk about Timo Werner. Of course, the news keeps getting more heated up. The news coming out now is that he does have a release clause in his contract, right? We don't really know what the exact number is. I've seen figures at 52. I've seen them as low as 30. And I've also seen it that it expires in the middle of the summer. So if we don't buy him by then, he doesn't have a release clause. So, but to my knowledge, him and his agent are really pushing for this Premier League move. He wants the Premier League move, and Liverpool seem like the likely destination, given we've been linked with him for so long, given his relationship with Klopp, and given his age and his ability to fit in the system. So in 118 appearances for Leipzig, like you were saying, Isaac, 71 goals. I mean, this team just puts out just quality players, and I need to see him. I need to see him at Liverpool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, he's everything that Liverpool looks for in transfer. So he's the right age, number one. He, as a striker, he can do it all. He's a great finisher. He works his tail off. He runs all over the place. His speed is incredible for a guy that is as stocky as he is. He's good on headers. You know, he's not afraid to press, play some defense. He's everything that Klopp loves in a player. And then on top of it, the value goes hand in hand too. $50 million, the £50 million buyout clause is great. Even if we go up to about 60 million, that value for a player like that is one of the top three strikers in the Bundesliga right now at the age of about 24, 25 in that area. I mean, he is the perfect thing. And like you just talked about with our midfield and how stacked that is and the flexibility we have, adding him into our front three, front four gives us even more flexibility. Be able to sit guys like Salah and Mane, give them rest, even Bobby, maybe we move to a 4-2-3-1, put Bobby as the 10. That really would solve our creativity problem, and he'll really press back on defense. So it gives us a ton of things to play with, and it will just be a money signing for Liverpool, and that front four would be absolutely scary.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I think we need to. I heard reports that the release clause might be expiring in 2 months. So like if that's true, Leipzig's going to throw that, like I'll put 100 million or something like as a new release clause after that, or they just won't have a release clause, and clubs like Bayern and Madrid will go out and pay that. So I think like if we're going to get it, it's like with Premier League teams, you rarely see them be proactive about transfers, where they're more reactive. Like we don't have a striker, we'll get a striker. I think we might not necessarily need him necessarily, I think, but like we should go out and get him for this. I think 50 million is pretty cheap for like a striker of his quality nowadays. But my concern is I think we need to be focusing on other transfers as well. Like I think we need a backup keeper.
Hey, yo, Karius is coming back, man.
He's not it. He's not the one I'm looking for.
Are you saying you don't like Karius? What?
Like Karius is not going to cut it. Adrian's not going to cut it. We need a backup keeper, and I honestly think we could use another center back. I think we could use another center back to put more. Joe Gomez is one for the future, but just to put more quality and depth, have a better bench at center back position. And I think we need to get like another young center back into the squad. But I think a big focus needs to be a backup, because once Allison goes down, look at it. Like,
yeah, I'm an optimist though, man. I mean, you look at how Adrian played, with the exception of the Atletico game. He was amazing for us, man. He really was. I mean, you got to give him some credit. Even though we lost, I mean, he had an excellent save against Napoli. I mean, he had great saves against Chelsea for us to get that win. I mean, Abraham had a breakaway, like one-on-one, and he ended up saving it. I mean, he really did great for us, but I do agree with you. We need a quality backup keeper, and one who knows his role and is keen to get better. You know what I mean? Not one that's just satisfied with being the backup keeper.
Exactly. A couple years ago, Chelsea had Courtois in check. Manchester United has De Gea, and then they have Henderson out on loan.
Henderson is a good keeper, man.
Exactly. And United can bring her back anytime. And then Man City had Ederson and Bravo. Like, I think we need to start taking it serious, because most of the players, I think Mignolet was we let him go, but I think he was a better backup than Adrian, and I think he was better than Karius. I mean, but
I don't know if I can agree with that one. What do you think on that point, Steve?
I'm just the Champions League final was like, that moment was so, I think it was so traumatic for like a football player like him.
Oh yeah.
And like, he's not going to bounce back from that with Liverpool. Like, for his own good, I think he needs to move. He was doing better in Turkey, but I think like for his own good, he needs to just move on from the situation. Like, he's not going to. It was a very
definitely a traumatic experience.
Yeah, and he's still, that's what he's gonna, like, regardless of what he does, he could go on and win 2 more Champions League and 3 World Cups, or and people are just gonna remember him for that moment. So I think it'll be a mutually beneficial decision for both clubs, for us and for Karius, to just walk away and move on from the situation. But I'm really hoping we bring in a keeper in the next transfer window. So we'll see.
I could definitely see it happen. And Steve, I need to get your take on the Mignolet Adrian take that Isaac had. That's a
So
hot
honestly,
take.
I think they're pretty similar, to be honest, because you know the thing that I didn't like about Mignolet, right? He was a fine ball stopper, but his distribution was crap, right? And we saw the same now with Adrian, right? Adrian, when it comes to ball stopping, amazing. He's a fine goalie when it comes to blocking a shot, but it was that Atletico game and that mistake that he made that really highlights how important it is to have a goalie that's more of a kind of a sweeper keeper type of skill set who can distribute the ball in more ways than one, who can has a good throw, can handle a back pass, stuff like that. The conditions in that game were really, really bad. Obviously, it was pouring rain, all that stuff. But that being said, like, that's why we brought Allison in. Like, Allison, I wouldn't say, like, Allison's obviously world class, but I wouldn't say that Adrian's a huge drop off from Allison in terms of ball stopping ability. But the gap between them, their distribution is massive. And I think that's what we need to look at, because we need a goalie that is comfortable handling the ball and can distribute it in a quick moment, especially with how we like to play as a team. That's something that I think is really important. So I do agree. If we can bring in a backup goalie who fits that profile, 100% go and do it. Otherwise, keep Adrian and Karius around in preseason. Let them battle out and see who comes away with it. Because I don't think Karius is actually that bad. I thought he had a pretty good year until that final. But then that final, man, it's really hard to come back from something like that.
That's my point of view. I thought he had an excellent season up until that point. You know what I mean? And you hit with Mignolet, whenever he had the ball at his feet, I was sweating. I was sweating that. I thought he was going to lose it immediately. And every goalkeeper has those instances where they get stuck on the ball. They don't really have a pass, so they kind of just keep it and they end up making a mistake. Allison had one against Leicester, right?
Yep.
He kept it. And so every keeper has it, but there's certain games you just make sure you don't do it in. And one of them is against Atletico, and then especially the Champions League final. So, yeah. But I don't even know the situation with Karius, because apparently I think Karius canceled his contract.
He did.
He did. So he canceled it. So I guess Besiktas owes him money or something. They're in shambles as far as paying their players. And with Karius coming back, you're right, Isaac, I think, or whoever said it, playing in the preseason, let him have some time. I don't see the fans being happy with keeping Karius around, though, and that's unfortunate. But, and I don't even know how long Adrian's contract is. I thought it was just a short-term contract.
I think it is. I think it is short term. So I don't know if he has one more year left or if it is just 1 year. I mean, it'll also be interesting to keep an eye out for the young guy we have, Kelleher. Maybe Klopp likes him to come up and get him some first team minutes in club games and stuff like that. But I would actually rather him go out on loan somewhere, see if he can be the number one goalie somewhere and get some more experience. But we have some flexibility there, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What about Adam Bogdan? Y'all about keeping Adam Bogdan?
Adam Bogdan, dude. He and Lazar Markovic, man, like they come in, like we hear their name for about a month and then they're just like banished. It's just one of those things.
I remember the exact game that Adam Bogdan played in. I can't remember if it was at Cardiff or it was somewhere, but I remember he had the ball twice within 10 minutes. And he was trying to run out and distribute it, and he got hit, and he dropped it twice for 2 goals, and never played again. See ya. Like
the only reason why we signed him is because when we played Bolton in the cup, I think it was a cup game or something, he stood on his head against us. Yeah. I think that was really the only reason why we signed him.
Yeah, no, exactly. Rogers was like, "Ooh, this guy, he's pretty good."
Yeah. He's got character. He's got character.
Equality. I can't even do his accent, but when Brendan Rodgers interviews are funny.
Speaking of that, that's why I worried about Minamino. Like, he came in with RB like Salzburg and put in like a great performance in Anfield in the Champions League. But I'm hoping he can recreate that magic like going into the season. But I think a lot of times we have a player that does outstanding against us, and then we bring him in, and I'm just hoping he's a good fit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But that was a good point.
Yeah, and Klopp, coaches like to do that. I mean, look at how Klopp, Sadio Mane had a hat trick against us Klopp's first or second year, and he ends up bringing him in. So, but he was also following him for a while. But you said Minamino. I trust Klopp's scouting team more than I think I trust myself. because every player that's come in, it just seems like they've been a success, of course, with the exception of Karius. But even Karius, like, it was just that one game. So
Mhm.
Minamino, I don't have any worries about that. And you guys brought up the 4-2-3-1. That's an excellent point. I really think that Klopp's ability to change systems is getting better and better, because you look, when he first came in, he didn't play with the right backs and the outside backs. He didn't play with them the way he does now, right? He didn't push him forward, and his main idea wasn't to cross it into the box. He was playing through the midfield, and he was breaking teams down on the ground. So his ability to adapt, and if he's able to go into a 4-2-3-1, put Werner up top or Origi, whoever's going to play in that striker spot, Firmino in behind, or Chamberlain or Keita or Minamino, whoever, it's just remarkable, his ability to adapt and
Yep.
plug in players. It's phenomenal.
Yep. The one thing I want to add just about Firmino real quick, about Minamino really quick, was after we played them in the second leg, first practice back in Melwood, like apparently like 3 or 4 Liverpool players approached Klopp and said, "You should go get that guy," and then they did after that. So that's pretty cool. He had the respect from the players, and at the end of the day, it was £7 million. So if it doesn't work out, that's nothing. They'll probably turn around and sell him for 15. So it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Your value
nice
immediately goes up as soon as you pull on the Liverpool jersey anyway. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
100%.
yeah. And I mean, even I keep bringing up Karius, man. Karius, he was 4 million or something, 4.1 million. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like we lost any, and we sold Mignolet, so we've made profit, you know. And that's another thing I want to get into. There was, Steven, you were part of this. There was some guy bashing FSG on Twitter the other day.
Oh my God! Yeah, that thread was just ridiculous, dude.
Isaac, man, what do you think of FSG and since they've come in, you know, their ability to change the team, bring in Klopp, attract, you know, all these different executive people, and they're just really how they change the organization?
I think like coming in, I mean, English fans just are very like skeptical of Americans coming into.
Oh yeah.
So like but I think they did a great job. Like look where we are now. Like they brought in Klopp. Like I think they're doing a good job. I saw the thread. I think a lot of the criticism they get was like unwarranted. I think they did a really good job turning Liverpool around. I mean, like being a Liverpool fan 10 years ago, like looking at the lineups that we were putting out, like I think they like
seriously.
The teams they own typically do well, and Liverpool's doing well. We're making smart buys. We're like, as you all pointed out, like the transfers we're making are smart transfers. They're profitable transfers. Even if a player doesn't work out, we didn't like break the bank getting them, you know?
Right.
Like, I think I have no problem with the ownership. I have no problem with Fenway Sporting Group at all. And I think we'll see. I mean, I think just a lot of people like to give criticism to American owners. And I mean, some of the owners deserve it, but I don't think the group is one that deserves it.
Yeah, and I
agree.
But I love what they've done with the club. But Steven has a good point. I didn't know how they operate for the Red Sox, right? So, Steven, you were talking a couple weeks ago and on your own podcast and stuff about, you know, they really only care about themselves. Can you speak a little more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing I will say that they've done a good job on is when they came in, people forget Liverpool were close to administration. Like they were really close. Like our profits and our financial situation was horrible. They turned that around really quick. And look where we are now. They're not even one of the top 10 richest owners in the Premier League, and we are where we are. So they're doing a good job there. But the thing with FSG is they are very, very selfish. So they own the Red Sox, obviously, but they also own the Boston Globe, biggest newspaper in Boston. They will go out of their way and find any dirt, do anything to throw the other teams under the bus to make their team look as good as possible.
And when you say that, do you mean like Boston Red Sox versus the Bruins, or like do you mean other, like the Yankees?
No, other Boston teams. So
wow.
The Bruins, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots. Like if something happens, like to one of those teams, they blow it up in the newspaper for like 2 weeks straight, and that's all they talk about.
Wow.
And then obviously we heard all the rumors about the potential furlough decision. They came back and said, somebody leaked it and all that stuff. I guarantee you 100% they were planning on doing that. Not even a question. And anytime when it comes to one of those top guys, whether it's John Henry, Tom Warner, or for the Red Sox, there used to be a guy named Larry Lucchino. If anybody disagreed with anything that they wanted to do, they're out. Toss them out. We'll replace you with somebody else. Not a big deal. So I could go on and on about FSG. I'm actually thinking about writing a blog about them myself. But yeah, I mean, all in all, there's really good things about them. Like I love what they're doing with Anfield. I love this, like, you know, the money ball approach to transfers that they're doing. But, you know, behind the scenes, like they are shady and selfish owners, and that's the case with a lot of owners, though. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
that's a good topic. With a lot, like with Newcastle and their new owners having like a lot of human rights violations. Like, it's like the characters of the owner. Like, I wasn't even aware they owned the Boston Globe. Like, I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until Steven said anything. You know, I just knew they owned the Red Sox. So
yeah, Red Sox fans definitely have a lot of problems with them, like recently. But I liked what they did with Liverpool, but I did not know about any of that. Like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff would be interesting. I'll be interested in reading that blog.
Yeah, well, I heard a rumor about the Klopp signing when they signed Klopp. I can't confirm nor deny, but I heard that they hired Klopp before they even fired Brandon Rodgers.
Oh.
Behind the scenes. Yeah. Like,
I would have done the same thing, to be honest with you.
I'm talking like a month before they fired Brandon Rodgers. They had Klopp in Boston at Fenway at a meeting behind closed doors that nobody knew about.
Wow.
Yeah. I heard that from somebody inside the Red Sox. But
man, I'm telling you, Boston sports are weird like that, because they did the same exact thing with Kyrie to try to get him to re-sign in Boston. They had Brady in there, they had Belichick, and they were like, listen, this is the place to be. Man, y'all Bostonians are shady, man.
You know it, dude.
Yeah. Man. Yo, and honestly, man, that's all I got on the agenda. Do you guys want to add anything? We kind of went on a little bit of tangents, but it was good topics. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No, man, I just need the sport back, dude. I bet on the NFL draft a couple nights ago. That's how desperate I am, man. This get me back some European soccer, man. It's what I need.
Yeah. All I gotta say is I really hope the Premier League comes back. I've waited my whole life to see Liverpool win the league. I went through some terrible lineups. I went through some horrible coaches, some tough periods. I hope we can win the league in a way that doesn't sacrifice the safety and doesn't stop us fighting the coronavirus. But yeah, it's a shame it had to be this way. Even if we do win the league, it won't be the same. But I've been a Liverpool fan my whole life, and yeah, it's so sad. We were so close last year, and then when can we catch a break, you know?
Seriously,
yeah. And man, I don't want it to be like with an asterisk next to it. You know what I mean? Like, that was the virus season. Like, I want it to be like legit, and that's why I want it to come back. But just like you said, man, I don't want it to come back and then all of a sudden this just tumbles out of control.
Exactly.
Everyone starts getting sick, and it would just look horrible on UEFA, on the FA. It would look bad on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But man, yeah, it was a good show, y'all. I appreciate you both coming on, because I know middle of the day, but I do appreciate it. And I think we touched on some good topics.
Man, this was fun, dude. I love doing these with you guys. We'll have to do it more often. And I know, Kyle, I was talking to my brother. We're getting you on the podcast too. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm
Isaac,
pumped, man.
you too, man. Well, we'll all have to do some nice collab or something, because this is always a good time.